I started out in zine culture in the metal scene. I was in a death metal band, and before that I used to do a fanzine. I liked the unhinged nature of them, like you could just print whatever you wanted. Once I left that scene, I realized my love for comics. Like I was into comics as collecting for a while, and then I left it and I got into the death metal scene. And once I got into that scene, those zines were a huge influence on me. The art, just the dark nature of them. So I think that stuff's always kind of translated into my work at a certain point. So I was doing fine art for a while. It was during the housing boom, I'd say in the 2000s. And so like people were buying these pretty much generic paintings for their home, and I was doing pretty good off of that. And then once the housing market crashed, there's really no reason for painting. So the local convention started, and then once that started, I had some comics that I had done in the past, and I just compiled them into a book. And in that first convention, I sold out of all my books, and it was like a real boon. And pretty much since that first bit of cash, I've used that as a seed fund to continue making comics from then on. And I've been able to do shows and just keep it going for the last, I think 23 years.
This is World of Nonks. It's the complete black and white series. I put them out as magazines just like this, just because it was cheaper. And then once I had enough to do a full cohesive story, I just put these out on print on demand on Amazon. So you can get these on Amazon now for as long as I keep them up there. But yeah, it's all black and white. I think it's 280 pages, I think.
So World of Nonks was kind of just like a thing I had been working on, and it came out so fast and so quickly. I just created all these stories from this world, this weird fantasy alien world. I just kind of got burnt out with it, and I got kind of bored with it. And I was like, I want to do something that I'm so tired of seeing the same old stuff at comic stores. So I was like, why don't I just make the stuff I want to see?
This is how it started. This is the collected 1 through 4, the first 4 issues of Blood Desert. This is all in grayscale. But yeah, he starts out without the beard. And essentially what he is he's just an Amazon delivery clone for this giant, mega corporation that does deliveries. And the clones go nuts, so they have to nuke the cities because the clones are so evil. And so he's one that through drugs and alcohol, he becomes his own little clone dude. He's like one of the last survivors in Tucson. And the hub where these clones are made are in Tunis, Arizona. It's called Tunis. It's a giant city of the future. Tucson and Phoenix combined. And yeah, so once he gets broken from his programming, he just becomes kind of he gets trashed from the delivery job, and then he starts becoming an assassin in a way.
So I wanted agenda absent comics, comics that have are just for fun. And I'm really into cartooning, the aspect of cartooning in it, because there's no dialogue in the books. So it's a completely artistically driven series, Blood Desert. And I've seen a response. People love the book. People are crazy for the series. So it's proof that if you give fans the comics that they used to enjoy, B movies like Arnold Schwarzenegger films, in a sense, instead of agenda-driven or whatever-driven comics, relationship comics, that stuff's played out. I just wanted to get completely away from that. I wanted to do Blood Desert as a series that's just raw, in your face, and you're gonna either like it from that first book or you're not. There's no, and that's kind of what underground comics were. They were either not everyone liked Crumb. They would look at it and go, ugh, or they'd love it. I'm seeing more of that in the industry. You see these guys they just want to tell a story. And I think they're just kind of bored with what they're seeing in comics. If you're just starting out and you want to start putting your books out, you just print them. I just started doing photocopied versions, and I still do that. I still do mini comics and photocopied versions of my comics. They're just at a smaller scale. And I also use print on demand. I feel like if you're not doing your comic, then it's your fault. Just do it. There's nothing stopping you. You have Google, YouTube, and print on demand. And that right there, you're setting yourself up for success. You don't need this corporate backing or, thousands of dollars to get started. You can print 10 issues, say you have a series started, and then sell those 10, print 10 more. And that's pretty much what I'm doing. My initial print runs are fairly low, but then my longevity is really high. It's a different way of looking at comics distro, The problem I'm having now is just getting into stores. I've had my books in local shops for years, off and on, but I just think the way the shops are set up with the distribution system, they're anti-indie comic. I feel like there's always been a barrier for underground and indie comics in the scene or in the local comic shops. I think something needs to change in that whole scene where you're separate and not equal. Because, I mean, adult comics especially, they're so relegated to a space that's uncommercial. In Europe, they have erotic comics everywhere. It's just the way we treat this material. But it's like Walking Dead's ultra violent, and it's black and white with color covers. It's the same shit I'm doing. But why is there, the corporates, it's okay, but it's not okay for these guys.
You know, with independent comics and local comics, one of the biggest issues is just getting people to try something new. And even if you have it right in their hands, right in front of them, they're always a little leery just because it's not Spider-Man, it's not Batman, it's not your, kind of traditional superhero comics types of things. But, we've always tried to support like independent creators and, carry local creators' books. The mature and adult material genre is not always easy to sell, but, there are a number of people who are definitely interested in it. And I don't believe in censorship, and I'd like to carry all stuff that people are interested in. And it does make it difficult sometimes when you can't really display some of the stuff because, it's of mature content. I am of the mind that, we're definitely living in a bit of a Disney-fied era at the moment, and it would be nice to see, a return to sort of the more gritty and wild world of 80s and 90s comics. I don't know if we will actually see that, but there's a lot of people that are able to publish things in a way that was never possible before. You'd have to have a deal with a publisher or something, or get stuff printed through a printer, and now you can get stuff printed on demand almost anywhere in the world and put out content. So I think that there is an opportunity for more to happen, and I would like to see more happen, but I think the market is a little soft at the moment.
There's just so many hurdles for an underground artist right now, starting in comics. And I think the pandemic made it clear to me that there's this clear separation between an online comics world and the convention scene. Something happened in the industry or in the convention scene where comics creators don't matter anymore. Table prices are insane. I mean, you're gonna pay $300 for a table for a 4-day show that you're selling indie books at. Someone in this mid-level where I'm at, it's still a struggle. These shows aren't feasible. It's become anti-comics, man. It blows my mind. It's like I go to conventions and it's just not about comics anymore. So what are they? They're not, it's like, well, take the name out. Don't call them comic conventions. We'll call them something else. We'll call them nerd meetups or nerd mash or something, and just push us out. If you're gonna push us out, then do it, then make it so indie creators can start their own thing, I guess. The convention scene has to make a choice on who it's going to support. So I can't get a free table, but for some guy that was in Alien Nation in the 90s or 80s and was on TV, he gets carte blanche. The conventions are like, comics, we're just gonna sell tables. Well, that's fine, but say what you are. You're not comic book conventions. I haven't been to an actual comic book convention since the 90s. So now, where am I? I've got the broken convention system and the broken store system. Where does that leave me? It leaves me online. I'll do it myself. You have to. There's I don't know what an indie artist is supposed to do.